In my opinion, everyone has a basic right to autonomy, the right to end suffering, and the right to choose to die with dignity. With that being said, it is essential as John's counselor to respect these three important rights and support his decision for assisted suicide. In Jones-Eversley 2019 PowerPoint, Ethical Decision Making, she discusses 5 important ethical principles. As human service professionals, we must uphold 3 out of the 5 in relation to John's case. These include beneficence, non-maleficence, and autonomy. Jones-Eversley 2019 defines these principles as counselors' responsibility to promote the client's well-being, cause no harm, and respect the client's personal choices. We, as human service professionals, must uphold these ethical principles in relation to John's decision for assisted suicide. John's illness can affect both his mental and physical quality of life. We have the ethical duty to promote his well-being in order to end his suffering and pain. If his illness is causing discomfort and affecting his activities of daily living, how can we convince him to continue to live in such agony? Aid in Dying allows the terminally ill to end their suffering. Newfoundland and Labrador Association of Social Workers 2015 discusses the ethical principle screen as it relates to decision-making and social work practice. The article contains the ethical principle screen, which portrays the principle of self-determination, autonomy, and freedom high on the pyramid, reflecting the belief that a client's autonomy is very important. One's decision to end their own life is a fundamental human freedom. According to Novelli and Banerjee 2017, terminal illnesses have the ability to strip an individual of their identity and cause them to lose control over their life. On page 37 of this article, it states that assisted suicide is the ultimate form of an individual's freedom of expression and belief. By allowing John to make this final decision, we are respecting his dignity and wishes. How can we, as human service professionals, strip him from his personal autonomy and liberty?
As a supporter of human life due to my religious beliefs, it would be my responsibility to make sure that John does not make a life-ending decision because of his terminal illness. According to the ethical principles screen, a counselor's first priority is the protection of life of their client. And as John's counselor, it is my obligation that John does not end his life, even if it opposes other cultures' views or beliefs. Furthermore, we must uphold the ethical principles of non-maleficence and beneficence to ensure the least amount of harm on John during his treatments for his illness. Paternalism is the behavior by a person that can limit someone's autonomy for their own good. The Code of Ethics states that counselors have the duty to limit their client's right to self-determination when, in the social worker's judgment, the client's actions pose a foreseeable and imminent risk to themselves or others. In this case, it is important for us as professionals to use our expertise to influence John in a way for him to see the positive outcomes in counseling sessions. Increasing John's quality of life in a physical and emotional way could help to change his views on participating in assisted suicide. Our role in this situation is to use knowledge to aid in healing our client mentally and to help him bear the loss of some of his autonomy. According to the article Religious Groups' View on End-of-Life Issues, a majority of religious groups oppose the right to assisted suicide and other end-of-life options. Catholic faith teaches that life should not be shortened because it is a gift from God which we do not have the authority to end. For someone with ultimate suffering, their time before death should be spent cherishing their family, relationships, and coming to terms with their illness. Some Catholic believers think that one's decision to take their own life can be in response to loneliness and despair, which should be addressed by counselors through focusing on their client's needs, concerns, and goals. No matter how ill our patient is, it is up for us to care for and preserve our client's life. As social workers, it is our duty to provide necessary treatment to our patients. How can we disregard our duties as human service professionals by giving our client the right to end his life without first trying to give him the counseling he may need?
I respectfully disagree with your main arguments against assisted suicide. Although protection of life is ranked higher on the ethical principles screen than autonomy, isn't giving him the power to end his suffering and pain protecting his life from more discomfort? We must consider both his emotional and physical well-being as it relates to his quality of life. If his quality of life is poor, then one may believe that ending his life does protect him from pain and suffering, since death is inevitable. The decision for assisted suicide is then justified to end his suffering. Assisted suicide gives people with terminal illness the right to choose the timing and manner of their death. In your argument, you discuss the article Religious Groups' View on End-of-Life Issues, 2013, and examine the Catholic Church and their belief that God is the only one with the authority to give and take life, but failed to mention other religious beliefs. Unlike the Catholic Church, the United Church of Christ supports the right of the terminally ill to make their own decisions in regard to dying, respecting the individual's choice. These two religious institutes have polar opinions. Therefore, who is to decide which religious belief is the correct one? No religious institute should impose their own beliefs on others. In Jones Eversley 2019 PowerPoint titled Code of Ethics, Self-Determination versus Paternalism, philosopher Immanuel Kant states that a person's right to determine destiny is unconditional. This suggests that everyone has the right to choose who they want to be, what they want to do, and how they want to live or die. In John's case, Immanuel Kant would encourage counselors to support assisted suicide in his final decision. Respecting his choice is giving John a peaceful and dignified death.
With due respect, I disagree with your belief that John should be granted the autonomy to take his own life. As you stated, autonomy of a client is highly protected through the ethical principles screen, but as social workers, we are held accountable to protect our client's life over their self-determination and autonomy. You stated that John's autonomy is very important in relation to decisions that he makes, and that his belief to end his own life is a fundamental human freedom. While we as individuals do have a majority of freedoms and the self-determination to make our own decisions, paternalism is what balances our decisions while working with a counselor. According to Jones Eversley PowerPoint titled Code of Ethics, Self-Determination versus Paternalism, early philosopher Plato suggested that people should be protected from each other and themselves. Here, Plato is making the point that a counselor with authority needs to be able to protect their client if they think an action they are going to make is harmful. As human service professionals, paternalism is what gives us the right to take away one's personal autonomy and liberty in order to protect our client. While you stated that we have the ethical duty to promote well-being by supporting his right to death, I believe that we should focus on getting John's quality of life higher so that he wants to live as long as possible. As counselors, it is important to unconditionally support our client, but also to have a caring attitude for the relationships we share with them. According to the article Euthanasia and Assisted Dying, the Roman Catholic View, life is valuable and one's suffering and pain do not qualify as a reason for ending life. If John is religious, our counseling should focus on convincing him to live through the beliefs of his religion. Convincing John to value his life by deciding against euthanasia will allow him to grow in wisdom and character in his last days on earth.
In conclusion, everyone has a basic right to autonomy, the right to end suffering, and the right to choose to die with dignity. It is essential to respect John's rights and support his choice for assisted suicide. John's self-determination needs to be respected as it gives him power and control, as he has already lost a part of him due to his illness. We must consider the ethical principles screen, ethical principles, and all religious and personal beliefs when discussing such a difficult topic. Thank you for your time and for listening to my personal belief regarding assisted suicide and how counselors should respect their client's decision. This topic is not easy to discuss, but I hope you consider my key arguments in supporting John and his decision.
Overall, as a counselor with a background of Catholic faith, it is never in my beliefs that a human should take their own life, regardless of their illness. Regarding paternalism, it is the aspect of social work that allows for counselors to protect their clients when they could potentially harm themselves or others. Autonomy is a very important part of our culture as Americans and for the ethical principles screen, but can sometimes be overruled for the good of our clients through paternalism. This is a topic that needs to be discussed with background information and the use of the ethical principles screen and code of ethics to make a knowledgeable argument. Thank you for considering both sides and listening to my beliefs on the topic of assisted suicide and euthanasia.
We, as a group, agreed that both of the debaters had included a very strong variety of information to support their stance on this ethical dilemma. As for their position on this topic, we have also agreed that it was very clearly understood. Additionally, both debaters were very successful in utilizing ethical frameworks and providing support for each side of their arguments. They both spoke at an appropriate speed and volume, which benefited both sides of their argument to make both of their opinions effective. Due to the debaters clearly expressing their opinion, it was understandable that they truly comprehended both sides of the argument. Overall, both of their statements and rebuttals were very persuasive for the audience.